Button. Oh, hang on. Oh,
Yep,
set it up again. Hang on.
we've got live.
It says it's turning off.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. We're on.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good morning, everybody. Well, I'm sorry for the few minutes delay. Good morning to those who've joined us before and are joining us for the first time. My name is Bronwyn Pearson. I'm from Pinnacle People Solutions, and welcome to our daily Facebook live stream update. I'm delighted to have with me today Joe and Stephen from Lysaghts Refrigeration and Air Conditioning in Tamworth. Good morning, guys.
Morning, Bron.
Fantastic to have you with us this morning. So before we get into our interview of Joe and Stephen, just a reminder that Pinnacle People Solutions provides human resource services, solutions, support, etc. to regionally based small to medium-sized businesses and not-for-profit organisations. And we are here to help you through these challenging COVID-19 times. So for those who've been following us, we are live at 9:15 every weekday and have been. This is our 11th week with updates on new information as it impacts small to medium-sized business owners and their staff, and more detailed information about topics relating to staffing and business management. So please don't hesitate to ask any questions that you might have as we go along. I'll do my best to answer those. If not today, I'll answer them in the live stream tomorrow morning. Outside of this, you can contact our team anytime via Facebook, email, telephone, website, all of those details. I'm sure our wonderful team are going to be popping up in the chat screen for you in just a moment. But today we have the privilege and pleasure of talking to Joe Lysaghts and Stephen Lysaghts from Lysaghts Refrigeration and Air Conditioning, who are based in Tamworth. And totally delightful to have these guys here today to talk about navigating COVID-19 as a small regionally based business and other workplace challenges. So to start with, I guess I would ask you guys about the fact that you're a family-owned and operated business, which is not uncommon. In fact, it's quite common in regional Australia. So talk to us, perhaps to start with, about your business. When did you start? What are the positives and negatives from your perspective?
The business was established by my father in September 1970. So September this year would be 50 years in business. I joined him in 1979 as an apprentice and then worked up from there. We started from a garage at the family home, and then 25 years ago we moved here to Minda in the industrial area, and then Joe and I took over permanently in about 2004. We've been running it together since then.
Fantastic. So I know you guys are really well known in the wider region, as well as obviously in Tamworth, and you have a fantastic reputation. Talk to us about what some of the positives and negatives are of being a family-owned business.
I think one of the main positives are Stephen and I aren't a couple, so if one needs a break to go away from holidays, the other one picks up the reins for that period of time, and that's quite a benefit. The negatives in being involved in a family business might be working with family, but the positives are pretty out there. You've got a lot of management support and longevity. There's a lot of longevity, and there's potential for future longevity as well. I think, yeah.
In fact, your staff are fairly loyal to, it's a very small environment. We're all working together, so everyone sort of becomes friends as well as business mates, partners, and we navigate through it that way. But long hours would be a negative. You tend to put in more hours because we own the business and it's a family business.
Yeah.
So, but it also makes it successful that way.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody's going to love that beast like you do.
Yeah. That's right.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
So as a regionally based business, what challenges have you faced from a HR perspective?
not knowing where to go to find the professional support, and having evolved from the business from when it started. There's so many changes since 1970. I'm a relative newcomer. I've only been here since 2000, so
Yeah.
20 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Just not knowing where to go. I don't know if it would be different if we were in a larger city. Yeah, professional support would be perhaps one of the challenges.
Okay, fantastic. So, Stephen, talk to me about what you thought when Joe originally talked to you about getting some HR support into the business.
Well, like, because we've been going so long and we floundered along, and we put the important things, which was getting out there, looking for work, getting the jobs, getting them done, getting bills paid. The HR side of it, I thought Joe had a handle on it pretty well, but because we're not HR background, we're refrigeration and air conditioning, it wasn't a real priority to me, and to spend money that I didn't think we needed to was probably that as well. But after seeing results of what, contracts and things you put together, like, you couldn't live without it now. And I was away on leave when COVID actually broke out. Within 24 hours, Pinnacle, you and your team pretty much got us through that fairly quickly too.
Fantastic.
So I didn't really think we were required, but certainly now, knowing what we know, we were very...
So from your perspective, it was more about, to start with, you didn't know what you didn't know.
That's it. Didn't know and didn't think it was that important, but now we know how important it is.
I knew what I didn't know, and I was managing our policies, our WHS manuals, and all of our employment side of it. I was managing that myself and managing it poorly, and copying from different things that I'd seen, and nothing was updated, nothing was actually accurate. It was just, and it was very, very time consuming and very, very stressful, because to get all of these things wrong, can cost you so much. Yeah, so it just wasn't managing it well, but was having a good go. Really trying to get it done.
Absolutely. No, you
I
certainly.
remember the look on your face when I said, "Here's our policies." You're like, "Oh, thank you."
No, you absolutely get marks for diligence, I have to say. Absolutely. So, what, Joe and Stephen, did you do on your own before you decided to get some specialist expertise? What worked in doing that and what didn't?
I can't really say anything particularly worked. We were lucky that, no big business tragedy happened, and that we were forced to, produce all of these things, because what I would have produced would have been a head-shaking disappointment.
We had safe work method statements for the things.
Yeah.
Like, the bare minimal is probably the best way to sum it up. We had everything that was required that we thought and our clients required in place, insurances and things, but we had no contracts with staff. We had, a lot of stuff we didn't know about.
A lot of policies were missing. We had some policies, but not the full range of it. Again, it's what you don't know that you don't know.
So, what was the trigger then for deciding to engage us, for example?
October last year, for me personally, trying to manage it, and usually doing this sort of stuff on the weekend because there's no time during the day, it was overwhelmed. It was just, I just need help, and I'd been listening to you and hearing what you had to say, and I went, we need this company, let's just talk to Bron. And my mind was well and truly made up when you first had that audit with us. And I just thought you were going to seamlessly introduce everything we needed to be compliant and up to date and legal. And it was just such a relief. So for me, the trigger was overwhelmed, just not knowing that have I got this right, completely right.
Yeah. Stephen, I'm interested in what was the tipping point for you?
probably just to now see what we've got laid out for us from you guys. And the turning point for me was we were way under what we were required. So liabilities, things, if something went wrong, everything's gone. So by now realising that, I have no worries about paying any expense that we've got to have to make things run smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID coming along, well, hell, whole new story.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a moment, because obviously part of today is navigating COVID. So we started to work with you guys before COVID.
Yes.
But how did that impact for you when COVID hit?
Oh, COVID is a new experience for us. We have fairly predictable seasons. We have fairly predictable highs and lows in supply and demand for what we do. But there had been a complete silencing of the phones, a complete downturn in business for so many reasons, consumer confidence and lack of money in the community for a whole stack of reasons, but nothing that we'd ever had to navigate before. And it was quite quickly evident that this was a business environment that we'd never experienced in my 20 years, or his
30 odd.
40 something.
40.
Never really experienced anything like that before. And some really hard and heartbreaking decisions had to get made. Yeah. And not knowing exactly how to do that, or exactly what you could do, and the feed coming from the government, the ATO, was confusing to say the least, and varied as it was delivered to the public as well. So you being the mediator and the interpreter of all that and the helper of what we can and can't do was amazing and really, really reassuring. Yeah.
So how did you find, as sort of business owners, and you talked, Stephen, before about you've got a small close team and a loyal team.
Yeah.
So how was making structural changes that you really did have to make, because for the business to try and survive this period, what was that experience like?
It was very emotional. It was very difficult to, we had to make a business decision and not an emotional decision, and we were going through it emotionally because of what was happening and the friendships that we made. Thank goodness the outcome that we've have gone through and done, all the team members are happy with it. We're still friends with the ones that have had to go. So, but still, I still get a bit emotional about that part of it, because I'd never had to do it, never had to do anything in business that hard.
It became a situation, make these hard decisions to save the business, to save everybody's jobs. So, the drop in hours and redundancies, all of those hard calls, it would be, if we didn't make those decisions, it would be, maybe we're not going to be here. We don't know how long this is going to go for. Better to be here and be in somewhat of reduced capacity than not be here at all.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what would you guys say to other business owners that who might be, running regionally based small businesses or medium-sized enterprises themselves, about what they should do about HR based on your own experience?
I don't believe any small business should not have somebody employed, or because it's a specialised field. It's not something that, if you're a butcher, you know what you're doing, but you don't know how to put these things together. So it needs to be done properly and professionally, with people that focus on just that. And we only did the bare minimum that we knew what we had to do. So
Yeah.
I just say people to ask questions, ask us to talk to, ask you guys for support. Same with your accountant and everybody. You get advice from the people that do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So certainly one of the things I remember sharing with you guys is my experience. I found that often business owners don't invest in HR until it's too late. And often it might be that nasty letter or email from Fair Work that is the, that is the trigger. But you guys, pulled that trigger much earlier, like you weren't in that situation, which is fantastic. And you were doing your diligent best to keep on top of your obligations. The tricky thing is, of course, that employment law obligations, as soon as you employ your first person, are particularly onerous and they're complicated. Obviously, the Prime Minister is now talking about getting key stakeholders together and trying to do some industrial relations reform. So it'll be interesting to see coming out of the experiences and the role that the government, particularly National Cabinet, have taken around trying to help businesses through this period, just what the plans are going to look like moving forward. But nonetheless, I doubt that it will be, it might be more helpful, but I doubt it will be less complicated or complex. And historically, we've all kind of, I think, understood that, we wouldn't try and meet all of our tax obligations and reporting obligations to the ATO without a decent accountant. But I think sometimes we don't necessarily translate that to the people side of the business, which for most businesses is their greatest asset and their potentially greatest liability.
And that's absolutely true. We were quite lucky that nothing had happened, and we were working with you well in advance. But
how have I'm curious too, guys. When we get involved and work with you, it's not just working with you guys; it's working with the team as well. So, how have they responded?
They've been fairly open with us about it. Cutting back to 4 days, we were open with them. They were quick to come back and give us their opinion, and they've been pleased. If they've had questions, they've obviously been able to go to you, one-on-one with you, and obviously you're helping them as much as helping us. It's been very, very well accepted. And
you've been very well accepted, but in the beginning, they were nervous. They were like, what's this? What's all this about? What am I going to get the sack? What's going on? It's like, no, we need to be up to date. We need to be current. And you introduced it seamlessly. You gave them the confidence that, this wasn't a big scary thing. This was just keeping up to date with anyone who's running a business. This is just getting us back up to zero pretty much. And they've been fantastic. And I really believe that they all feel confident to speak to you at any time. And they know that there's the confidentiality there, that they can say what they want. So it's like having, it's just the perfect outsourced HR professional for us, where it's not somebody here in our workplace, it's somebody out of the business that's perfect for them as well as us.
Fantastic. So I guess that can be a tricky element of having a family-owned business, I suppose, is that where the family members are sort of the ultimate decision makers in the business, and the people that ordinarily the staff might go to with concerns, sometimes as loyal as they are, they can feel a bit sort of reluctant sometimes, depending on what the issue is, because it's kind of family. So how do you raise an issue about one family member with another one, potentially? And so it's an interesting dynamic to have that sort of additional source of sort of advice and information and support to be able to.
And it makes them feel safe too. Like the policies and things that we're rolling out constantly, it gives them a sense that we're trying to be doing the right thing all the time, and gives them the sense of their job is safe and secure. Once this corona's over and things get back to a routine, they know they're well looked after.
They certainly, the response I got from them individually as well as collectively was certainly that they are really appreciative of the fact that you guys take your role as employers really seriously enough to make sure that you know, you're doing all of the things that you should be doing in terms of, you know, being a supportive and compliant employer, making sure that they go home at the end of the day with all their limbs intact, that sort of thing. So what obviously, you know, the biggest challenges you've alluded to as a result of COVID have been, you know, structural change, changing sort of days and hours, and having to go down the path of redundancy. What was the most important thing, or what were the most important things to you guys in that process?
Just getting it done correctly, the right way. So, you know, we didn't have to invent something. There was policies there that you knew what we had to do. We had no idea. And so for you to put them in place, and Joe and I not really having to worry too much about that side, but we were worried enough that we were, you know, battling the work situation. So where you could take over, come in, lay it all on the line for everybody, made it simple for us, really, but still hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
The stuff that was keeping me up at night, you managed, and that was a blessing.
Okay. So we continue to be obviously in unprecedented times, and things keep changing fairly rapidly. So how are you guys feeling about the now and about the future?
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm pretty happy that our region is as well contained and as healthy as it is, and I think Australia on the whole has done a pretty remarkable job of, you know, it's going to take 18 months, maybe more, to get back to what's normal for our business, perhaps. Taking a hit's okay, taking a nosedive wasn't, and yes, I'm cautiously optimistic. Yeah.
I'm because this is all I've ever done all my life, and it's the worst I've ever seen it. But Tamworth's a very resilient town. It bounces back pretty quick, and I feel positive that it's going to come back quicker than most towns will. But time will tell. We've been through droughts and fires, and now this, and next minute we'll have a flood.
Stephen, if things come in threes, this is the third.
Yeah, there'll be a flood next month. Just to blow it up.
Let's hope not.
So, no, I'm very positive that it will come out fairly well for everybody. At the moment, it's a day-by-day thing. We're not booked out weeks in advance. We're booked out a few days at a time, and the guys are happy with that. They know where they're heading. Summer's just around the corner. So we'll go from there.
So how important has it been through this time, like COVID, but also in general as managers of the business? How important is it to the communication that you have with the staff, and how often are you doing that, and in what ways?
Very important, very important.
Very important, and we've really increased our communication with the staff since you've been our HR supporter. So from back in October, it's been a constant communication. You were here in person for a while. Now we do our policy rollouts every week. You know, every week we're chatting to the staff as a group on Zoom calls with you. It's a normal thing now, and it's a very easy and seamless introduction of what needs to be introduced to our business. Easy and worry-free and hassle-free. You know, you guys just sail on through, and it's done in a way that we just sit back and go, in awe. It's really, you know, should have been done years ago.
That's okay. It's happening now. So that's really important. Joe, before we started the live this morning, you had a couple of questions around the recent casuals decision, because I know you've been into the live streams. How do you feel about, you know, when things like this come up now compared to what you did pre-October last year, like in terms of?
Well, I'm confused about the casual and the proposal to to back pay leave and sick leave and whatever is going on there, I thought we were paying a loading, a 25% loading to compensate for that. We don't have any casuals right now, but I'd be really concerned. And you answered every question. Like, you've got all the knowledge and you're getting the feed from the tax department. And you said if you had a casual employment contract, it would have that specific ingredient built into it to explain exactly what is the procedure with leave. So we'd have had a protection anyway if we'd have had a casual staff, so that there isn't any paying them the loading and also paying them full-time. You've got that covered in the casual position description and employment contract. So not having had you to answer that question, I've been scratching my head going, well, how does this work for us? Where to now? Is this now going to, vastly increase my labour rate?
Yeah. Yeah, which is the question we're getting from a lot of businesses at the moment, understandably so, because it's a bit scary. Look, it's quite possible that the federal government will step in like they did in December 2018 when the first case around this hit, and they introduced regulation which actually, clarified it and made it less onerous for business owners. But whether they will do that this time remains to be seen. But we'll watch the space and see what happens. Can I finish up today, guys, by asking you, what do you love most about working at Lysaghts?
Oh, that's a good one. Wasn't prepared for that.
Sorry, I had like one out of the box.
Just probably the fact that because Jo and I aren't married, that I can go and have leave knowing that she's managing the business exactly how we would do it when I am here, and she can also do the same thing. Our children are sort of scattered here, there and everywhere, so we can go and catch up with them and still have someone running the business. Even though the staff are great, they won't treat it like we do. And so just that little bit of freedom,
I feel really quite honoured to be included in such a old business in Tamworth. Bronwyn Pearson started the business in the garage at the family home. They were 33 years in business before they retired, and to be an add-on to the running of that, I was initially just put in to type a few quotes and do a few invoices. So I feel really, it's a good business. It is a really good business, and I'm proud of the business that has continued to grow since those small beginnings back then. So yeah, I love that, and I love the people. You meet great people, the great customers. I think that would be my favourite part of it. The people, the customers, and we've got a great team. I love our staff. They're really good. We get to give good feedback from our customers to them all the time. They're a good team. Yeah.
Fantastic. So what, if you could give sort of one piece of advice to other regionally based small business owners who might be tuning into this either now or afterwards, and who are kind of going, oh yeah, this all sounds a bit familiar. What advice would you give them? I mean, we're obviously navigating unprecedented times in terms of COVID, and let alone the normal challenges of being an employer. So what would your piece of advice to them be?
Make sure they're getting professional advice to help them through any period of their business, whether it's like this or not. They need to have people doing the things that they can't. And in hard times, stay focused. It'll come good. Make the cuts they've got to make, and always, build it back up after you're through this.
I would totally agree. Do what you do best. Do what you're the expert in. And if you're not the expert in some aspect of the business, engage an expert. It's like insurance. You need it. You just need it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Look, guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
No
I'm
problem.
really appreciative of that. It's delightful to work with you, and we always look forward to continuing to do that. And I'll see you a bit later this morning for the next stage of the policy rollout with the guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Bron.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you joining us this morning and sharing your experience.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, all righty. So that was so fantastic to get the opportunity to talk with Joe and Stephen this morning. Fantastic small business owners from Tamworth, and their journey and challenges for navigating COVID-19 and workplace challenges generally. It was delightful to get to speak to them this morning. So thought I would just give you a bit of an update since Monday. Obviously, yesterday we had the wonderful Jessica giving you some tips and strategies from a psychological welfare perspective on relocating new and existing employees. So just to give you a bit of an update to what's happened since Monday. So probably the biggest sort of announcement or development since Monday has been the Prime Minister's address to the National Press Club yesterday, and we'll distribute the link to the full text of his address yesterday. But he was talking to about this concept the government intends to introduce called a job maker plan. So obviously the job seeker and job keeper programs, which he referred to as economic lifelines during this COVID period, are only intended to be short and temporary measures. Certainly there's a lot of discourse already happening and a lot of speculation by business owners, economists and others about, what are going to be some of the real challenges in sustaining employment numbers as organisations are restarting their businesses. And that goes particularly from our perspective for small to medium-sized regionally based businesses and not-for-profit organisations. So the intention of this broadly capped sort of job maker plan, as the Prime Minister referred to it yesterday, is to enable Australia to emerge from the COVID-19 crisis and set Australia up for economic success for the next 3 to 5 years. So what we know broadly at this point in time is that this job maker strategy involves the government becoming, this is the federal government, becoming more closely involved in, as well as looking to overhaul skills training. And there's a recognition that perhaps there's a need for Australians to be better trained for jobs that businesses are looking to create. The intention is for this plan to really look at the current system, which has been described as clunky and perhaps unresponsive to skills demands. So there's 3 skills pilots that the government has established in human services, digital technologies and in mining. And those skills pilots are designed to give that specific industry or sector the opportunity to shape the training system to be more responsive to skill needs and to take responsibility for qualification development. So I would have spoken a number of weeks ago about the National Skills Commission, which is due to be established in July. And that commission will be responsible for, amongst other things, providing labour market analysis, including forecasting the skills needs for Australia. And that is intended to then translate into assisting students with their career and training choices. So under this broad sort of job maker plan that the Prime Minister's referred to, there will be changes to federal funding for skills training. Importantly, I mean, that's important, of course. Equally importantly is the fact that there is going to be a new process to be led by the Federal Attorney General and Minister for Industrial Relations, Christian Porter, to bring key stakeholders in Australia together from Australia's industrial relations system to look at a practical reform agenda for industrial relations. What they've referred to as a job making agenda, dealing with specific aspects of industrial relations. And the intention is that this bringing the stakeholders together to navigate a reform agenda will be carried out by September. So we're going to have a fairly intense period between now and September, covering off what that's looking like. The Prime Minister has referred to the current industrial relations system as not fit for purpose. And there are to be 5 working groups established in the following areas: award simplification, enterprise agreement making, casuals and fixed term employees, which of course is a hot topic at the moment after last week's full federal court decision, compliance and enforcement, and greenfields agreements. So they are enterprise agreements for new startup organisations. So as I referred, this process is intended to be undertaken and completed by September. Interestingly, the JobKeeper program is slated to conclude at the end of September. So I'm sure that that the synergies there in terms of timing are not random. So we will give you the full the address for the full text of the Prime Minister's briefing. So you've got that. So that's a fairly significant development, and that will be something we will obviously be wanting to keep a very close watch on. In the meantime, practical realities from today and our interview with Joe and Stephen from Lysaghts Refrigeration and Air Conditioning in Tamworth would be to, I guess, make sure you understand your obligations and your staff entitlements. Make sure that you've got appropriately constructed employment contracts, position descriptions, policy, etc. in place. Deal with performance or conduct issues now. Deal with any need that you suspect you have to structurally change your business in order for it to navigate this period. Deal with that now. Make sure you're meeting all your record keeping obligations. And if you're unsure about any or all of the above, please get in touch. You can have a no obligation free sit down with us to talk about your business and where it's at and what's necessary. And, you know, potentially just from that one conversation, you'll be able to go away and make strides. So thank you so much for joining us today. As always, we are delighted to have our regulars with us and our new attendees joining us. So please share the information about our live streams with your colleagues and your friends. We are up here every weekday morning. We will be doing more interviews, so look forward to that as a part of our live streams moving forward. But in the meantime, if you've got any specific questions as they relate to your business, or you need us or want us to help you out in any way, shape or form, contact us by the contact information that is available for us. You can reach out to us in a whole range of different ways. And in the meantime, please join us again tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll be looking at people are on the move again. What does that mean for your business? Lots of different angles that we'll be taking to look at that question. So please join us again tomorrow. Invite your colleagues and your friends. Please hug the people that you can in the meantime. Wave cheerily at those that you can't. Stay safe, stay home, self-isolate from others, and wash your hands. And we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us.